Good morning and welcome to another session of Love is Patient. I am so excited about having my guest here today with me. I'm not alone in the studio again. Last week, my husband joined me, and this week I have the Acostas with me. Yes, from Covenant Life Ministries. Pastors David and Carmen Acosta are with me on Love is Patient this morning.
Yes.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate
Oh my
that.
goodness, it is such an honor to have
It's an honor
you
for us.
with us today. So let's welcome them. Those of you out there, a part of the audience this morning, I am so excited. I'm so excited. We're talking about the courage to love again. Okay? To love again takes a lot of courage. And we've been delving into that topic, I guess some 4 or 5 weeks now. And hopefully, I'm at the brink of convincing someone that there is a lot of value in loving again. To giving love a chance one more time. We've been talking about tearing down some walls.
Yes.
And if the opportunity ever presents itself another time, that you would indeed consider loving again. There's blessings on the other side. So I brought Pastors Carmen and Pastor David here today to tell their story about giving love a chance.
Yes.
A couple times. Oh, I can't wait. We're gonna jump right in.
Amen. Amen.
Tell us about your love story. How did this come to be? How did this thing come to be?
It started with him.
There's a saying, right, that goes, you can see the glory, but you don't know the story. And so we're so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to share the way God did with us what he did. And so the love story can honestly start, and it's going to sound so out of this world in a sense, but it really is what it is. I'm telling you, this is what we lived. I never forget being in the car with my sister and her husband-to-be, going to the flower shop to get the arrangements for the wedding. And we were on East Main Street driving, and all of a sudden I see this young lady walking across the street with this long maxi coat, and I see her, and immediately in my heart, I told my sister and my brother-in-law to be, I said, that girl's gonna be my wife, stop the car. They're like, well, get out of here, because, those were high school days.
Wow.
You had a lot of friends and a lot of girls that you were attracted to, but I said, stop the car, I have to know where she lives. I jump out of the car, and they said, meet us at the flower shop. And so I started walking behind her, but I didn't want to get too close. And the long and short of it is that when she turned the second corner, I lost her because I didn't want her to know I was following her. But I knew the vicinity. And so that vicinity dropped so deep in my heart about her that all I could think about is, if I can get to the school where she goes to, I'm going to get her.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I went to all the schools in Bridgeport.
He literally transferred.
I went from Central High School to Bassick to
Havens.
Bulla Havens, and then I found out at one of the church services from one of the young ladies that go to the youth group that she knew this girl. And I said, are you kidding? Where do you guys go? Harding. I said, I'm going to Harding.
Bingo.
And guess what? I did.
It is.
And I really coordinated with this young lady who then became my brother's wife. And I said, listen, you got to hook us up. And do you know that I pressed my way, no matter what, to get this young woman of God for my life? And I can tell you,
Yes.
one of the things that I just heard this past summer, a great evangelist that we all know, she was ministering the word, and then she was going to minister. And she said this one thing that really blessed my heart. She said, Pastor David, you didn't know it then, but God had called you to be a queen maker. To be a queen maker. And I didn't understand that. I said, a queen maker? He said, the way I set it up was to cause a queen to come. And today, that's the dream that I live with, and all the craziness that
So we
had.
courted through high school, right?
Yes, we did.
We courted through high school. I didn't attend physically the school because I reached a point where I came down with a physical illness that wouldn't permit me to be in school. So I was homeschooled. I basically lived at Yale New Haven Hospital for my sophomore, junior, and senior year. But right after high school, I got my diploma, graduated, and we got married. I graduated in May. He had already graduated the year before me. And then September, we got married of 1975.
Oh, wow.
Two young people, very much in love, but very ignorant, very immature, very selfish. There was a difference in our upbringing. So from a religious standpoint, I was raised Catholic. He was raised, Christian Pentecostal.
Oh, wow.
His father was a pastor,
Yeah.
so he was the son of a pastor, musician,
goodness.
And so we were just so far apart from one another. He tried everything he could to get me to know Christ, and I did everything I could to run from Christ, to run from God.
I love it.
Yes, because I had some situations in my lifetime where I felt that God didn't love me and he was out to kill me. And so that's a whole nother story, but it's part of what led to our marriage being so disastrous for the first 7 years. So within the first 7 years, we had 3 separations. And when I mean separation, I don't mean that, we had our apartment and he would take off to his parents and I would, I would stay, or I would take. We literally broke out everything, sold everything, got rid of everything. He went to his parents, I went to mine.
Oh, wow.
And we would reconcile. We'd start from scratch, new
Buy everything,
furniture, everything, set up apartment, everything. Selfishness, lack of communication, religion, traditions that I just, I wasn't accustomed to. It's what he wanted. He really tried to get me to give my life to Christ, but it wasn't working. And so again, we would end up fighting and constantly just not getting along and break down apartment, sell everything, put whatever we could in storage. 3 times of doing that. And finally on the 3rd time, after everything was said and done, I said, okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Because at that point, the marriage was just so broken. There was just infidelity. There was just all the things that, we were just so far apart from one another, yet we loved each other. That was the most difficult part. But I was so angry and so bitter, and he was so angry and so bitter. And, by this point, 18, 7, so I was like 24 years old,
yeah,
25
still young,
at this
yeah.
point. I was still young. He moved. And so I lived with my parents. And honestly, even though we were separated, even though we got the divorce and it went through, I didn't court anyone. He pretty much just gave his life to Christ and just kept pursuing God. And then he met someone, and as he started to get closer to that individual, he said the Lord told him,
That's not the one.
I gave you Carmen. And he's like, but she doesn't want me. And, and he says, I gave you Carmen. This is not the woman that I have for you. But every time he had ever tried to call me, it was like, hang up, any flowers, I didn't want nothing.
Nothing.
But this is how God works. He wanted to know we were divorced because he was filing his taxes. And the odd part about it is that day that he placed a call into our house, so I just woke up with him in my heart, and I was so upset that he was in my heart. It's like, why would I wake up on a Saturday morning where I could do almost anything, don't have to go to work? Why is he in my heart? And I was supposed to go clubbing that night with my sister. First experience on clubbing because I hadn't done it before. But something just wouldn't let me do it. So I said to her, no, I think I'm just going to stay home. I just wasn't in the mood. My parents had gone to bed. My sister had gone to the club. And the phone rings. And so I pick it up.
Set up.
It was a God setup.
Set up.
It's him. I didn't even
Wow.
recognize him at first because his approach was just so formal, so professional. I'm like, he's asked, "Can I speak to Carmen?" You know, and I'm like, "This is her," and he's like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that
and he-
approach.
yes.
Formal. Let's try this.
So he's at-
Professionalism.
So then he asked the questions. I said, "Yeah, everything's finalized," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And next thing you know, we kept talking, and before we knew it, we were on the phone for an hour and a half, and we talked more in that hour and a half about so many things than we had talked when we were married. And so we agreed to meet. We did, and it just everything proliferated. The relationship just moved so much faster than we could even keep track of. And before you know it, we were remarried, in a good place, loving each other. We had our first child, and I still hadn't given myself to Christ.
Built our first house. Yeah, that's right, man. Wow.
Had our house, had our first child, had our second child, still just off. In our relationship, we did better, we were more mature, but there was just this, he wanted me for Christ, and I didn't understand that. And so I always fought him. And he agreed to leave me alone, but then he just couldn't. And every time he would bring up the Lord, I'm like, no, that's for crazy people. Sane people don't read that book, that Bible. That's not for sane people. You know, priests are the only ones that are supposed to read the Bible. And so he, no matter what he tried, he couldn't. And then finally the Lord had said to him, you know, Dave, stop. Just stop, pray.
Leave her in my hands. That's what he said. Leave her in my hands. I want you to serve her, love her, and treat her like I treat you. Now that was a revelation. And then he said, when you talk to her and you treat her, understand she's my daughter. How would you treat my daughter? So I started, and it wasn't reciprocal. Yet at the same time, I understood that God was working in me, because he was ironing and smoothing those sharp edges and all that craziness about me. And so there was a work that God began to do in me, because usually we would pray, Father, change your Lord, do something. And he said, he was changing me. And so as he did that, things started really coming together. And in that process, she had already had a plan, because she said, I can't do this no more.
Because it was, I had had my second child, I had my third child, and he was still what I thought at the time was hell-bent. He was heaven-bound, more like it now, but on getting me saved. And all I kept saying was, I'm not a bad person. I don't rob banks. I don't do anything bad. What do I need to be saved for? I go to church. I pray.
A hard one.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. And so I would see him, on the bathroom floor with the door closed, crying on his completely prostrate. I'd come home from a long day of work and kids were asleep. Everything was, the house, beautiful order, and he's on his knees praying. And that would just make me that much more angrier with him. And I was like, I don't want any part of this. And so I had decided, that's it. I'm leaving again.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Woo!
Yeah.
What a story.
And it wasn't,
What a
at that
story.
point, I was serving God 100%. And I said, Lord, whatever you want, but I know you have a plan for her. And man, tell me that part, how God brought
Yeah, so
you
then
in.
just real quickly, on the day that I was gonna leave, that he didn't know I was gonna leave, I remember he was just so loving and so kind, and I was just so angry and so bitter by this point. 3 children later, beautiful home. He worked hard, I worked hard. There's just this whole thing about being saved and having God in our lives. And I kept saying, why do we need so much of this God? Like, why? Why are you so infatuated with this God? I felt that I had to run away from God because of several events that I'd been told that were brought on to me by God, bad events. So I lived my life in fear of this God who was out to kill me. And so I said to him, I don't understand what your infatuation with this God was. I didn't remarry you to be back with this God. I thought we had a good understanding. But long story short, I remember sitting up in bed. He had brought in my coffee, and he always had a habit of turning the Christian radio station on.
1500.
And it would just drive me nuts, but I just couldn't say anything. I just lost the battle on that. It just wasn't worth the fight. And I remember sitting up in bed and saying, all right, if you're the God that he says he is, you know what I'm doing then. You know what my plan is. I'm not really going to work. I'm going to go set myself up. And I said, so if you can stop me, let's see. And I go to the bathroom, I'm washing up. Charles Stanley is on.
Love him. Love him.
He stops in the middle of his broadcast and he starts to say, I can't continue anymore. The Lord is telling me that there's someone out there that has made a decision that will devastate them for the rest of their life. And I need to tell this
got
person,
chills.
stop. Don't go. Don't leave. Don't go with your plan. And he began to read our mail. God is saying he sees your pain. He's seen what you're going through. He's seen your trouble. He's seen what your life has been through. He knows what you're struggling with, but he wants you to know that he loves you. Don't walk away from him. Don't walk away from your family. And I'm standing there, I'm just frozen solid. And he's just speaking all the things in my private thoughts that I hadn't even shared with him on this radio. And I'm like, how many people like me are out? So it just caught my attention, and the very fact that it caught my attention, I walked over to the radio and kept listening, and then he said, if you're out there and you're listening, I want you to just get on your knees. I get on my knees in church, but they have a little nice stool, you get on your knees.
Yeah. Absolutely, the Catholic Church.
Nothing. I got on my knees and I'm like, okay. I actually went into my closet, closed the door, and I repeated the sinner's prayer. He led me to Christ.
Oh my God.
At that moment, all I could do was
She
cry.
bursted out.
I just cried and cried and cried. He was downstairs in the lower level getting ready for work, and he said that the Lord said to him, go upstairs to your bedroom. He didn't know what that was about, so he said he put his stuff down, went upstairs, and heard me crying in the closet. Honestly, he was there with me. I didn't even know he was there, but I felt the weight.
I went and knelt right next to
Yes.
her. We both just started. I just
Just-
wept.
yes. And so we spent that day, we didn't go to work, we just spent that day. I just released all my pain, all my hurt, everything, because I just felt like this lift. And I couldn't explain it because I had never had an experience. I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't know that I could attribute whatever this lift was to him. But he kept explaining it to me. And so I told him what had happened, and he says, he's all knowing, he's all seeing, he sees you, he knew your heart. He wasn't going to let you walk out of here, walk out of our family. He wasn't going to he said, I've been praying for years.
Years. The
And
process.
I kept getting in the way. I kept messing up because I kept wanting to do it my way at my time. And that was just leading you to frustrate. The Lord said, pull away. Let me take care of it. Just pray for her. And as angry as you would get with me, I just prayed even harder because I knew God was able. And sure enough, from that point on, I went to church with him that Sunday. I couldn't wait for that altar call. I ran. I just ran to that church. That church had been praying for me. I didn't know about it. And from that day forward, I knew what love was.
Oh my goodness.
And we've been living that love ever since.
Bishop Nathaniel Hayes, United Prayer Deliverance Center. I was part of that church. They prayed me through. The Hayes family prayed us through.
My God.
And that was the miracle that they prophesied. They said,
Yes.
God's going to do this. God's going to cause it to be in ministry. You guys are going to travel the world, preach the gospel.
That was in 1991, never forget, August of 1991. We have been on a love roller coaster, but a beautiful love roller coaster, because we've experienced all the sides of love, but never in one moment did we think, quit. When I realized the love of Christ and what he did for me, which I never really understood and knew because I ran from him, I knew that the love in our marriage, the love that we had or each other would only survive if our vertical love was in
Absolutely.
order.
Yes.
And we have worked hard to understand this love relationship so that horizontally
Yes.
our relationship would be right. And it's not perfect, but it's right.
It's right.
It's
But it's
right
right.
because it's based on what's
Ooh,
above.
it's not perfect, but it's right.
But it's right, isn't it so
It's
Oh,
true?
my
right.
God,
And that's
sweet.
the problem.
Yes.
People want everything to be perfect, but as long as you're in it, imperfection will
Hello.
exist.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you want perfection? The only perfection is in Christ, right?
Yes.
So how do you want perfection from another human being when you yourself don't even know
Right.
Christ?
Absolutely. Ooh, this love story is
Isn't it?
amazing. I am
So that's how,
enjoying-
that's a
yes.
fast forward
Yes.
beginning to end, and here we are today. 3 children later, 1 grandchild, ministry, just so many beautiful things that God has done in our life. And I say in a short period of time because, it's not like I've known him all my life. I ran from him literally. When this happened to me, I was 32, almost 32 years old.
Okay.
Half of my life. I'm 64 now. So for half of my life, I fought him and ran, and the other half, I served him with all my heart.
Oh, my God.
And I love my husband with all my heart, and
That's
he loves
wonderful.
me. And
That's
we just think that marriage is the absolutely most beautiful covenant. Aside from the covenant of salvation,
Yes.
the covenant of marriage is so close and so much a mirror to our relationship with
Yes,
Christ.
absolutely.
And I don't think people put marriage in that
I
perspective.
don't. It's been so tainted over the years.
Right.
We have to get back. We got to get the message
We
back
get back to the
out there.
basics,
That's
yes.
part of what
It's a
I'm doing.
covenant that
You know,
God
that's part of-
created.
I'm promoting love.
Yes.
We're gonna get that.
We're so happy
esteem.
that you are.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to esteem
We
this
need
marriage
to bring Christian
covenant.
couples
Right?
Yes.
It's
together
covenant.
and-
back to where it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Absolutely. In the same way, we understand that we handle each other with as much respect as we would handle our relationship with God. So we see ourselves in this triangle. It's not a marriage of 2, it's a marriage of 3. Because it's God, me, and him, or God, him, and me. And God is at the head, and we're at each end. And when we feed off of him, he
it
feeds
works.
down on us, and then we feed off each other. So it's this triangle that's just receiving vertically and then horizontally. And you get through the hurdles. There are difficult times,
Yes.
there are challenges, there are struggles.
Absolutely.
It's not perfect, but the love that's in it is perfect because it's been perfected in Christ.
The love is
It's
perfect.
been fired in Christ,
Yeah,
right?
look at that.
It's
She's-
kind
the
of
love
like
is
a
perfect.
diamond. You
Yes.
just fire it up, and then the beauty of it. That's what marriage is. You've got to allow that fire to just take out all the black
Impurities.
soot,
Yes.
Impurities, all the stuff, yeah.
and then just shine like a diamond, right? That's what it is, and
That's
that's what
awesome.
that's
That's
how
awesome.
we see marriage. That's how we value our marriage. That's how we encourage others about marriage. Don't quit.
Wonderful.
There's no quitting in marriage.
Good.
In covenant, there's no
Enduring.
quitting in covenant. Yes,
Endurance. There's no quitting.
there's
No
no
quitting,
quitting.
No, you have to
No.
bear
And you
through.
have no desire to
Suffer
quit.
through. Yes, yes,
I,
yes.
the woman that I was before Christ, quit every single time. Broke
Hence-
down my house.
Hence the 3
Yes.
separations.
Yeah.
I thought nothing of it.
Ooh.
The woman after Christ, it's like, no, this is hard, but you
Yes.
know what? We'll get this. We'll get through this. And we've had some challenges
Of all
Yes.
kinds,
of
sure.
all kinds. Physical, medical, just children, family, just all kinds of things. We're not exempt from it.
Yes.
But the love of Christ in us has kept us and continues to keep us.
That's beautiful. Let's talk about the endurance.
Yes.
Let's talk about, I want to hear from you, Pastor. I want to hear from you on the endurance. You said you prayed for years.
Yeah, and
You knew you had a mission.
I had a mission.
You are a queen maker. This was your mission almost, your assignment.
Yeah, my assignment, because I understood this one thing. I knew I had a calling from God from a very young age. And I knew that there was a call for me in ministry to do the will of God and carry out the assignment. Now, when I knew that that was the woman that God wanted, even though I wasn't walking the way I knew I could, then I started learning more about what it is to yield and surrender to God. And at that point, then he started to deal with me in those areas of my life. He said, the song says, weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. So I kept looking at the joy. And he said, look at all the good times. He says, look at when you talk with me, and we felt it became a constant thing, constant, continual, knowing that I started to learn that Christ was living inside of me, that he was abiding in me. And so as I learned the abiding through the word, then I said, wait a minute, if he's with me, I'm not alone. So I'm on a mission. In order for Carmen to know you the way I know you now, I have to be the intercessor. I have to be the bridge builder. I have to be, in a sense, the way maker, the miracle worker, the promise keeper, the light in the darkness. So all of that was not easy to the natural part.
Right.
But in my spirit, I knew that if I will just stand in the midst of whatever goes on, God is a miracle worker. He cannot fail. And that's what happened. And I kept going through, and regardless of what I saw, I kept saying, wait a minute, we have 3 children. We have 3 children. We have a future. The stake of my family and our legacy is either I stand, and if I fall as a leader, then I'm disqualified to say that I really believe this. And I would tell the Lord, how can I ever preach the gospel for you without the witness, the testimony that it really does work? So my greatest testimony is when I get up to preach and teach. If no one else is in the same wavelength, I'll look at her and go, if God did it with her, if he did it with her, how can he not do everything else?
Yes.
So it brought me to a whole nother level of understanding in God. So the endurance is worth all of it. When I tell you, it wasn't 1 year, it wasn't 2 years, it was 17 years.
Say that again out there. Somebody.
It wasn't 1 month, or 1
Somebody
week,
needs to
1 year.
hear
It was 17 years.
17 years.
17 years. But then when I kept reading the Bible, and I would find men like Abraham who endured. He endured. He stood in the midst of it. I mean, come on. Hey,
Yes,
you're going to be the father of many nations.
Hello?
Right? And you have a wife named Sarah.
Uh-huh.
And guess what? She's going to bear your child. She can't have a baby. Are you kidding? Lord, I'm past.
God.
I can't make no babies no more. This ain't going to work. And again, I'm in street talking in a sense.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, God takes the seemingly impossible for us, and he makes it possible to show us that no matter what condition our life might be and where we're going through, remember, at the end, we always win.
And one thing that I
get
want to interject, though, Lady Moles, is this. That even though it was 17 years before I came to know Christ, and we're talking 17 years, not of relationship, 17 years from the time that we got married, all the separations, the divorce, and then back together, and leading to another separation and thought of divorce. As soon as I gave my life to Christ, as soon as I was just hungry, God proliferated our time. From the time that I gave my life to Christ, in 5 years, we were in ministry.
He made up the time.
Yes.
He redeemed the time.
Yes, he
Not
really
even in 5 years, less, because I gave my life to Christ in 1991. In 1995, we founded Covenant Life Ministries. 4 years. 4 years. In 4 years, we had our church up. We had our church running.
God has
It
done
was
miracles. Oh my God,
That's
so
a
many
miracle.
miracles.
just so many miracles, so many wonderful things. And so you don't think of those years as lost
Right,
years.
right, right.
We gained those years and then some.
Yeah, he redeems the time, he says in his word. He
Yes.
redeems the time.
He
So what we thought
certainly
was
did.
lost was an investment.
Yes. And that's how we look at it. Those are
That's an
17
You gotta
investment.
say that again.
What
You
We
gotta
thought
say
we lost was an
what you thought
investment.
you lost.
That's right, because he
It's
says,
actually an
investment.
investment.
doesn't he say very clearly in scripture, he says, be not deceived, God is not mocked. Right? Why isn't he mocked? Because God doesn't operate just from time. He's an eternal God. So he says, God is not mocked. Whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So we We sowed in tears. Even to the point that we didn't even sometimes believe. We were like, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen, but Lord, I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna believe what the man of God preached. And what happened? And all of a sudden we reap a harvest and we go,
Yes.
he's so good.
I have to let that settle a minute.
Yeah.
Because the story is so powerful.
Oh, praise God.
It's so powerful in that you didn't give up.
Could-
Even though you had the breach,
Yes.
several breaches in the relationship,
Several.
you didn't give up, and neither did you.
No.
You never went on to another relationship.
No.
You know, so you had to endure as well,
Yes.
not even knowing the fullness of what the Lord had for you.
Had
You're
no
fighting
doubt.
it all
Yes,
the way.
I'm fighting
Not
it all
even
the way.
understanding that
Nope.
on the other side of this,
Yes.
if you could just understand and give in
Yes.
and yield and submit
And
and
Yes.
give another
Oh,
chance.
Yes.
And that's
On
where
the other side of that, yes.
that's where we just can't quit. We've been predestinated. I am a living witness of someone who tried to make her own way. But when she finally just yielded to God, she drifted to exactly, not even just drifted, just I feel like I
Gravitated.
floated right to, just naturally happened. And I could look back and look at my life, and I don't feel that those were bad years waste, because all of those, my history has prepared me for my future, for my destiny. And everything that I thought was hurt and pain is strength and power today. So all the things that the enemy tried to do to destroy my life, had I given in, it would have been destroyed. But because I pressed through, it's not destroyed. And I am living literally a life that I can't take any credit for. I give him all the glory. But I am just so blessed to have this privilege and this honor, first and foremost, to be married to someone so wonderful, to have such a beautiful marriage, to watch our children in their own marriage.
Yeah.
They know our testimony. They know what we've been through. And they are like their dad. They fight through. They're not quitters. None of our children have, gone through what we went through, so history did not repeat itself in that regard. They have difficulties, they have challenges, but the one thing they know is that marriage is sacred. So
Beautiful,
they
beautiful.
don't play with that,
Marriage
and
is
so
sacred.
marriage is sacred. It's holy unto God. It's ordained by God. We have to look at it that it's a sacred covenant that we get to partake in and participate in. I don't think people look at that in that way. It's almost like God has given us this beautiful privilege to have relationship, not only with him, but to share the love that we share with him, to share it intimately with someone else, and have it be beautiful, have it be holy, have it be sacred, and respect it. Not trash it,
Right.
not treat it like it's worthless. There's so much value in marriage. It's beautiful. It's a
Thank you.
beautiful covenant.
Thank you for that message. Because I feel like somebody's at the end of their rope. There's so many people at the end of the rope, and they may have just
Don't
cut the
quit.
rope off.
Don't quit.
However-
Don't quit. Grab that rope back
Yes.
again. Grab it.
I always say if the opportunity ever presented itself,
Yes.
we just want you to give it a chance. So what would you say?
Give it a chance.
What would you say to somebody out there that doesn't value their marriage, however many pieces it is
I would
fallen into?
tell them
They don't
to-
value it. They don't think it's possible. Let's give them some words of
The
encouragement.
Bible says that all things are possible through Christ.
Yes.
And if you're feeling that your marriage is not possible, then you're not seeing it from the right perspective. I pray that you can remove the scales from your eyes that are keeping you from seeing all that God has for you. You have to see it through God's eyes. Get in the Word, read what He talks about in the book of Ephesians about love and marriage. That is so sacred. That is so true. And one thing that I will say to those that are at that place, make sure that you are reflecting you as a
Good,
person.
Reflection,
Take
yes.
some time. That's what I had to do. Women nowadays, for the most part, and men are always saying this term, I'm waiting for the right person. The next time I get married, I want this and I want that, with no reflection of what their role was in the first mess, right? And so they're waiting for this right person. And I would say to you, stop looking for the right person and make sure that you're the right person. Make sure that you've taken enough time to reflect, to find out what you need to correct, what you need to bring and make upright. Whatever is crooked, God can make it straight in your life. You be the right person. And then yield to God and allow God to do what he has to do in you, so that that right person that you pray for will have to go through God to find you.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say, if you look at marriage as an investment,
Good.
I don't know about you, but I am one that does not like to invest in something and not get my return.
Good.
You see, with God, you never have
Yes.
a downturn in your investment. It always goes higher with greater returns. But you can't sow into something or invest into something that you don't put your whole self into. So that's what I have found. I tell my wife, and I say it publicly wherever I preach and teach, I say very clearly, I don't care how cute she is, I don't care what she's saying, there's not one, you can't put a harem together and put the worth. She is priceless to me.
Yes. And
The
he's
value
priceless
is far
to me.
exceeds anything I can touch, feel, look. So that's the way I see it. And if anyone comes and gets a little weird on me, I respectfully let them know, don't cross the line, because I will shame you.
I love it.
Because ain't nobody messing with
Yes.
the queen.
Yes, yes, yes.
Amen?
Yeah.
And-
No
and
mixed messages.
protect
You gotta
each
let
other.
them know.
you gotta let them know.
No,
Amen?
no,
Because
no.
you fought too much, you invested too
Yes,
much into
we too
something,
much.
We've
and this
invested
nothing
our
has this
life-
value.
Yes.
It doesn't have this value. The grass is never greener on the other side. It just looks that way. I saw something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling the men at a gathering called the Man Cave. And I said, men, I saw this on Facebook. It was a beautiful woman on the beach, right? And the guy is looking from the side of some rocks, and he sees this beautiful woman flowing, right? And she's on the beach, and he's like, woohoo, she's floating. And she's making goo-goo eyes at him and talking and all. Underneath, when he was about to jump, was a shark ready to eat him alive. Let me tell you something. That's how the enemy acts. He'll tease you with something. He'll tease her with something because she's at work and husband's not doing
Right.
or really treating her right. All of a sudden, he treats me right. He's nice. He knows I go to church. La la la. All of a sudden, you fall into that trap, and then the enemy.
Danger.
He shames you. He screams it out from the rooftops. Look at her, he's so faithful. Look at her. Look, and they call themselves Christian. But boy, it's beautiful when we have Christ.
Yes.
And we can really place that value
Yes.
and say, we're going to endure. We're going to
Yes,
stand
endure
forever.
and invest and keep investing. The investment doesn't stop. And I'm
It
sure
doesn't.
you understand.
Yes.
I think sometimes marriages, couples feel like, well, I've put so much time and I don't get. Doesn't matter. It's not about you. It's not just about receiving. It's more about giving.
Yes.
We try to outgive each other
Oh.
on a constant basis,
I
and we
love it.
constantly look for ways to romance each other, because that's important.
Yes, it is.
So it's always cute
Absolutely.
little notes, cute little messages, keeping it
Alive and
alive.
Yeah,
keeping it hot.
It's kind of like you have a flower. If you don't give that flower water,
Hello.
it's gonna
It's
die.
gonna die.
How do you feed your marriage?
Right.
You romance each
Good,
other. It's not
good.
a one-way street, it's a two-way street.
It's two ways.
You romance each other. You invest in each other. The investment continues. Just like you invest your life to the kingdom and to God and to your relationship with God, you have to
Oh, yeah.
invest in that marriage. You have to feed that marriage.
Yes.
You have to feed that marriage love.
Yes.
And that's the investment in marriage. It's love. It's endurance.
Beautiful.
It's pursuing, persevering.
Go have some fun.
Oh, have some
Have
fun.
fun.
Enjoy each
Have
other.
fun. Enjoy. I do a lot of love stuff because as a musician, I've always, so with me, I always was singing songs to her. Surely now it's time to say what our love could truly be. I know it's life,
Yes.
but I just sing to her. I
love
romance
it.
her.
I love it.
I'll be preaching. I'll be saying all kind of crazy. She's looking at me like, ooh, I said, that's my girl. That's what it is. If you keep your
Feed
eyes
it.
focused, right, you feed it,
Yes.
you get the reciprocal. You're going to get the blessing of
That's
it.
it.
Just like you have to feed the word for your spiritual livelihood and well-being, you have to feed the word in your marriage. You have to feed your words into your marriage. Words are powerful. I love
Beautiful
you
words.
is the most powerful
Yes.
word
Yeah,
in the
yes.
marriage
Feed it.
relationship. Feed it. Feed it. It's not just physical. It's verbal.
Yes.
It's
Verbal. That's
actions. You know, it's
I
not just
text Pastor Carmen all the time, and she could be in the next room. Or I'll call her. I mean, it's all the time. She'll be
I
in a
love
love
it.
meeting. Hey, hi, are you okay? Yeah, just want to tell you I love you. Have a great meeting. but it's fun
love it.
because
Yes.
my mind is always thinking on Carmen. I told her I'm going to Puerto Rico, but I'm going to miss you,
yes.
right? And she knows. You know, it is what it is. I can't imagine my life without.
And I can't imagine my life without it.
It's just no way. You know.
It's
so,
you don't let your mind wander.
Yes.
You don't allow negative talk. You have each
Good,
other's
good,
back. You don't speak ill will. Never allow any ill will to come out of your mouth towards one another.
Especially in public.
Absolutely. Respect
Ooh.
each other.
Yes.
Be willing to say, I'm sorry. Be willing to say, I was wrong.
Yes.
Be willing to say, forgive me. Both parties, both partners. We've learned that goes a long, in the same way that we repent before the Lord when we do something wrong. So, you know what? And many times, even when I'm, if I think he's wrong, I will go to him and say, I'm sorry. I will take responsibility for making it happen, and vice versa. We just want to be in harmony. We never want to go to bed at night without
Or let the
cuddling
sun go down.
or let the sun go down on our anger or on our wrath. None of those things. We take those things seriously.
I love
So persevering it's
Yes.
multifaceted.
It
There's
is.
so many aspects of pursuing and enduring.
Yes.
Like I said, it's the mirrored relationship of Christ, but on a horizontal level.
I'm telling you, I thank you for sharing
you.
today. Thank you for sharing the breaches in your
Yes.
relationship, because that's
Yes.
important to understand what made a person do the things that they do, you know?
Right.
What is this about divorces and
breaks my heart.
separations? It's real.
Yes.
It's real, and I thank you for sharing that. It's a big deal,
It is.
you know, to be married into a family
Yes.
that's pastoring.
Yes.
Ask me how I know.
Yes, exactly.
It's a big
Right?
deal.
It is a
It
big
is.
deal.
You know, the culture is so different. The expectations are there,
Yes.
you know, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But you do have to understand, it's another level of understanding.
It is.
How to live,
How
how
to-
to exist,
Yes.
you know, and they've been in it all their lives.
All their
And then when
lives.
you marry into
Oh, yes.
this family, there's a level of understanding and commitment
Yes.
that has to be.
Yes.
It has to be there.
Absolutely.
So that's a big theme in your marriage.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you shared your assignment. I hate to put it that way, but among your love and
Yes.
intertwined in your marriage is an assignment.
It is. He had
I
an
have one.
assignment for
My
us.
husband has one to me.
Yes.
I have one to him.
Exactly.
We have to acknowledge that, and
Yes.
just to hear how it unfolded. And now the 17 years, it doesn't make a difference because God redeemed that time.
Ooh, that's so good.
He made it up.
He did.
And
We just
so-
celebrated 46 years.
Oh my goodness!
46 years of marriage.
46 years of what?
Married.
You don't even look 40. My
bless
God,
you.
that's That
now.
is a
40,
blessing.
yep, last week,
What
46
a
years. 2 weeks ago,
blessing.
sorry,
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
Oh.
46 years of marriage.
And we are
It is
so proud to
possible.
be able to say we endured. Yeah, there were some breaches, there were some breaks, there were some attacks.
Yes.
But we are here we stand.
Yes.
And it's not one of those sour things that we're going, we're just telling you, but we can't stand each other.
Right,
We
right,
love
right,
each other for real. This is real deal.
Actually, we're still together.
Yeah,
We made it through.
that's right.
And we
There you go, right? Isn't it?
Death do us
Isn't it
part.
Yes, yes, yes,
Till
and that's
death do us
important,
part.
but the most important thing that I see today
Mm-hmm.
is that when you got to the other side, you shared the blessings that are on the other
Oh
side.
my Lord, yeah.
Yes. And
And
it's
all
so
the
good.
nuggets that helped you to get there.
How the labor of love is
Oh my goodness.
manifested in our lives in such a way that we can only thank God for it.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way we can steer outside of anything or in any other direction because it's just our well-being, our livelihood, our everything is from Him, and it came from Him, and it's real. It's not, it's not cliches.
Yes.
It's not superficial. It's real. We love the Lord. But we know that He loved us first because He put up with so much.
So much. Oh my gosh. And he's still.
And He didn't give up on us. He didn't give
Isn't
up
that
on
awesome?
me. Think
So
about
if he didn't give up on us,
He's not giving up on
You
you.
can't give
we
up.
can't give up on
Right? That's right.
Don't
We
give up
can't.
on
That's
your
right.
marriage. God hasn't given up on you. You're holding on to that
My
rope.
God.
Hold on.
Yes.
You know,
Cry out.
it's,
Ask for help.
it's never, you look at those scales that they look so balanced, and sometimes you see a picture and they look like perfectly.
Yes.
Really, it's never balanced that way.
Come on.
It's always up and down,
Yeah.
up and down. But the bottom line, there's a level of joy, of expectancy that comes with the ups and downs. Because when you go up to the mountain, you know you're gonna have to come down sometime. so it's okay because you know that if you've been up, you go down, you know you're coming up.
Yeah.
And you keep moving, and then the Spirit of God continues to balance it in such perfection that now there's no competition. You complement each other, you cover each other, you honor each other, you defend each other,
Love it.
you love each other
Oh my
so unconditional that you can only say, man, I wish, like I always say, I wish I knew then when I know now. Oh, how awesome. And God goes, I know that's how you think, but remember, I already restored everything that was lost
Yes.
because I am God.
I feel God restoring somebody now. I feel Him restoring somebody now.
Praise God.
All right. If the opportunity presents itself,
Yes.
you've heard it from the Acostas today. Give love another chance.
Yes, give love another chance, please.
It's a courageous effort.
It is. And
It
it's
is.
worth
Everything, yes, everything.
It's worth it.
everything.
It's worth it because love is patient.
Yes.
So until next time, give love another chance. Let's break down some walls. Let's do some forgiving.
Yes.
Let's endure because the end of it, as you can see, is a blessing. It's a whole road of blessings. And we just thank God. Thank you for sharing
Oh,
today.
thank you for having us.
All
Thank
right.
you
And
so much.
remember, love is patient.
Amen.
Let's courageously endure through.